Interested in art from a young age. I started drawing really young, all through high school. I loved drawing. I was really into graffiti a lot, and then that kind of inspired me to get more into fine art because I noticed that the level of graffiti was just getting so cool with 3D, all of that. So that really inspired me to pursue fine art more.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us.
Ready!
That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Hello, I'm Frank Caruso, producer of Oregon Life, and welcome to a brand new episode. As we continue with the Oregon Optimus recipients, there is something that is emblematic about all the three that I have interviewed, and that is they work in service of others. And that, as we continue, you will see interviewing last week, we did Alex. And this week we have Reese, and the following week we'll have Delaney. So I would like to say a big thank you and shout out to the teachers that participated with the interviews, and of course the students, and Sherry Pollock for bringing this to our attention. And also, again, Tour Horse Insurance has been there for us, to OCA Media and to Oregon Life, helping produce these episodes. So enjoy this episode, part 2 of the Optimus recipient.
Hi, I'm Doug DeBrew, girls cross country coach, and work with the distance kids in track as well. And I had the opportunity and really honor to work with Reese Evans the last 4 years on our girls cross country program and distance track. And Reese just really epitomizes everything we really try to emphasize in our program: hard work, getting along with other people, respecting other people's differences. And she was one of our captains this year, which for our program that has a great deal of meaning, not only in terms of cross country and cross country practice, but that person's a community leader, person's a leader in school. Really in every aspect of his or her life. And Reese, she's just been an outstanding young person, and she's going to do great things in life with what she's learned and what she's instilled in her teammates.
Hello, my name is Reese, and I am a senior at Oregon High School, and I am on the cross country and distance track team, and I was nominated by Coach DeBrew for my Optimist Award. So one of my former teammates, Libby Byrne, was nominated last year in the spring for the Optimist Award. So I knew about the award prior, but during the cross country season, Coach DeBrew had told me that he was waiting for the applications to come out because he was going to nominate me for the award. So I knew that he was going to nominate me, but I didn't know how many applicants were going towards it. And so the day he nominated me on a Friday, I think, and I found out on the Monday. So it was really fast turnaround. When he told me that he was going to nominate me, I felt excited. I knew who had been nominated, especially from the cross country team. And I know he only nominates people he holds to his high standards, which if you're being held to Coach DeBrew's high standards, it's just an amazing thing already. So I was just excited just like to know that he like categorized me with those people. When Coach DeBrew told me he was gonna nominate me, I chose to not tell my parents just because I was waiting for the response, and I think sometimes my parents get a little too excited before something actually happens. But when I showed them the letter, my mom teared up a little bit, and it was just like a cool experience just knowing that they're proud of me and what I've achieved.
Okay, I'll call to order the Village Board of Oregon, Wisconsin meeting to order for Monday, March 4th, 2024. Just reminder to members to speak into the mics. Roll call, please.
Bashan.
Here.
Higgins.
Here.
Kirchdorfer.
Here.
Mankey.
Here.
McDaniel.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
And Van Campen.
Here. Thank you. Item 3, approval of February 19th, 2024 Village Board meeting minutes if correct, and corrections of mistakes, if any. Looking for a motion to approve.
Sorry.
Tom and Carleen. Corrections, changes, comments. Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4, public appearances, comments, and communications. A, presentation from 14 South Artist and proposed lease agreement for 134 Janesville Street. And I think is that in the packet?
What? Hello.
Hi, pull your mic
I
up
know.
close. Thanks. State your name and,
Good evening. My name's Francine Tompkins, and I'm president of 14 South Artists, who are currently housed in the Pump House under the Tin Man on Janesville Street. Phil, did people get a copy of the proposal, or do I need to?
in the packet.
I didn't put anything, I didn't have anything in the packet.
Okay. Well, I'll go through
I
the.
guess you'll go through it.
All right. Well, I'm going to lead you through some main points, and the bottom line, I guess I'll start there, is that what we are asking for is an opportunity to continue to lease the pump house and to extend our lease for 3 years at a no cost to 14 South. And let me tell you the reasons why we're asking for that. So we took occupancy of the pump house in June of 2022. And that resulted because of a conversation I had with Randy Glitch, the president at the time. And the pump house was not being used. Obviously, as you all know, it had been renovated. It had been used as the Welcome Center. And then, of course, COVID hit, and it was not being utilized. And he thought maybe 14 South might have a chance to use that to have some pop-up art shows, et cetera. So we did. We actually started in early spring, and we had a pop-up event that was very successful. And at the same time, I found out about the Main Street Bounce Back Grant. So many of you may know about those federal monies that came into the state and were distributed mainly to allow individuals to come in and start businesses in buildings that were empty. And we were very lucky to qualify for one of the loans, or one of the grants. We received $10,000 in June of 2022. And that provided us with the funding to pay for our lease, our initial lease, as well as to pay for some displays, setting up what we have now, a hanging system for the art in the center, to do some painting of the front room, to renovate the wonderful steps that were not there over the
Interior
beam.
steps, yeah.
Pardon me?
Interior steps.
The
yep.
interior steps, yes. We didn't do nothing. We did nothing to the outside, except for we do have a new sign, which actually was the same footprint as the old sign, so that was lucky for us to be able to do that. So those funds paid for all of that startup, and it allowed us to pay our lease through 2024 of March of this year. We were able to use that money to pay ahead. What that gave us over a year and a half to demonstrate whether or not we could operate an art gallery, an art center actually, because we have art classes there, and we have a gift shop and art center. Can I ask how many of you have been in the Oregon Art Center? Okay, great. The rest of you need to come visit. We'll be glad to show you around, give you a private tour of the place. It'll take probably about 20 minutes because I have to talk you through this, of course. At any rate, we really were able to outfit the building and to begin to have regular hours. Over the time that we've been there, so since June of 2022, we are typically opened on the weekends, and then we are also open anytime there's an event that's going on in Waterman Park, or the Summerfest, or any other activity that we find out about. We are also open. One of the things that I shared, I had a meeting in February with Phil and Martin, and I shared our financial statement with them. And I'm going to give you some of those details because, again, as I said, being able to come in there early on and use our grant for a lease really allowed us the time to see whether or not we could really operate an art gallery successfully. Let me just back up for a minute and let you know that this wasn't our first foray into being part of the community. 14 South actually started in Oregon. Many of you may know that. Gary Walker, who owned Woodland Gallery, and his partner Cindy started 14 South Artists. And 14 South really stands for, it's looking at the Highway 14 as the kind of geographic marker. So the majority of the members at that time were from the Oregon and Stoughton area, and then south of Madison along the Highway 14 corridor. So it does have some really meaning for us. It's not about 14 artists, but the 14 South corridor. And they started in 2004. So this year is our 20th anniversary. We're going to have an anniversary celebration in November. But we have had an opportunity over those now almost 20 years to be involved in the community. So before we were able to lease the Oregon Art Center, we'd been involved in supporting the library and fundraising for the library, offering other educational programs to the community. We've been lucky enough to partner with Firefly on many occasions, and they have opened up their doors so that we could do some art activities, educational activities, and invite the community in. But the majority of our work since 2022 has been in creating and maintaining a working art gallery. And basically what that means is that we have taken the art from our members, which we have now about 57 members, and we do know that the Oregon Art Center is a reason why our membership keeps growing, because people are very excited to be able to have an art center. We've also been able to augment activities, as I mentioned, if there's something that's going on in the park, that we have also had activities in the Art Center. Last year when the Village of Oregon had its first art fair, we were open. We had over 200 people just visit then. When we had in the Village of Oregon, the Olbrich Garden Art Tour, which was in 2022, we had, I think, between 750, 800 people that came in, over that weekend. One of the things that we discovered is not only were people coming in, did we have an opportunity to share information about our art and the value of art to the community, but also to share information about the community itself, because people would come in, they would say, what else is there for us to do here? Is there any place to eat? And we found that we had a great opportunity to provide some of that welcome center functioning. So that's been a very exciting part of our work. Financially, what we found out is that we can just break even. We are a nonprofit. We are exempt from sales tax, but we started in January of 2023 charging artists commission, 20% commission, which, if you know anything about galleries, is really low. But we're a member organization. We don't want to, our members are not professional artists, so we didn't want to have to charge them. Oh, good, we have, the data's up there.
Yeah, sorry about that. We didn't
That's
have,
okay,
didn't
great.
Have that earlier.
So,
let me know if you want me to move it up or down.
Okay, I think that's the best place right there. So one of the things, as I said, that for me as the president, asking the question, two things when I mean, can we run a gallery? There were two things I was really interested in. Number one, can we take in sufficient amount of funding to support paying for a lease, paying for our internet service, paying for our Square, which is how we process our sales, being able to also staff the center. We, as I said, we are open 2 days a week, typically on Saturday and Sunday. And we've been open since June of 2022, and we've never had to close the center because we couldn't staff it. So we have had all of our artists, that's how we staff it. And it's all volunteers, so we have thousands of hours of volunteer time from our membership. We were able, as I mentioned, so January of 2023, we started charging a commission. And as you can see here, we really did break even. It was a surprise to me when I put these numbers together that I think I don't know, we have about $15 to spare between what our income was and what our costs were. And the reason we were actually able to make that come out is that we had $2,000 in donations. We had a $1,000 donation from Firefly, and then one community bank matched that. So without those funds, we would have, it would have been very difficult for us to even project being able to make a 2024, our obligations for a lease. One of the things that we find ourselves, I guess it's the good news about success, is that we would like to grow. We would like to do more educational programs. We would like to do more classes, do more things, outreach in the community. Part of that means a lot more marketing, and those costs continue to rise. We can't just depend on free social media, being able to get also more interactive kinds of media out there. So using videos, using more Instagram, things like that, being able to reimburse folks for doing those videos is something that last year we were able to do, again, because of some grant money. We had Frank, who we were able to hire to do some very high-level videos of all of our artists, which we were very happy to be able to do. And we see the return on investment in being able to do things like that. So the position that we're in is, while we can hope we can get additional donations so that we could continue to afford this, it doesn't allow us any growth. And so that's why we, obviously, you all look at your own budgets and you say there's only a few ways that you can do this. You can either get more income, or you can hopefully get more donations, or you can reduce your expenditures. So that's why I'm here, because that's one of the things that we're looking at, is reducing expenditures by hoping that we can reduce our lease. We feel we're great custodians of the building. We feel that we are an asset to the community, and we're hoping you would agree with us. Questions you have for me?
Questions? Comments? Amanda, please.
Does your rent that you paid before, does that include the utilities, or does the village provide that?
We,
Like heat?
we pay
basically?
for the electricity.
Electricity.
Yeah, it's really, let's see, electricity and gas for the
Okay.
pump house. So the thought is that covers that, and I think we run a dehumidifier over there. Do we still run that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, that's what I thought. And minor repairs. This last year, we had to do some repairs to the brickwork outside and everything.
Okay. And the rent in the past has kind of covered those?
I don't think the rent
Expenses
can
or-
cover the utilities. I think it's, I wish I could, I didn't realize this was on, so I didn't even look into it or anything, but, I mean, we could evaluate that.
Sure. I just wanted to know
Yeah.
for, that's not a deal breaker for me. I'm trying to wrap my head around what the expenses look like. So,
Yeah.
thanks.
One of the issues I know that it comes up as well is if we were not there, what would happen?
Yeah.
Village invested a lot of money into that building, and you would need to keep it heated during the winter. And there probably are things that, for example, the mortar that was falling out, you might not have caught that. We did. So we, that obviously, I have a little biased opinion about this.
I would support that. I mean, I think they've been great tenants to have over there, and brought concerns if they've had them to us, and we've tried to respond as quickly as we can with it. And I will admit, it's nice where we're not having to worry about whether somebody's in or out of there, because you're in and out of there, and if there's something going wrong, we would hear about it. So, but they've been really nice to work with, and everything she said is true as far as what we've observed during the concerts in the park and everything like that. They're open. You see people wandering kind of back and forth during the shows and everything.
Other questions or comments? Tim?
How much is the rent that you've been paying?
$200 a month, $2,400 a year.
Anybody else? Amanda?
Just to follow up then too, I personally see the value in having somebody be in the building, right? And I feel like you're working in concert with the downtown businesses. You probably help each other out and send people other places. And so while the village doesn't see direct contributions to cover expenses, I think the business community and the village as a whole will end up benefiting from that. So I'm leaning towards being okay with this, but.
Just as a comment to that, my background is as an educator and a researcher, and I think sometimes it's difficult to find hard evidence. And so what we look for are indicators, and indicators that I would say relate to exactly what you're talking about, Amanda, is the fact that we did receive, well, for us, substantial donation from Firefly and One Community Bank. And that tells me the recognition that they have for our contributions. And, you know, I wish we could videotape people who come in, people who are from Oregon, who didn't even know the building existed, who are so excited to come in and see it, or have been in there, you know, a long time ago, or during when the Welcome Center was open, and show their appreciation that there's something in the building. So I'm hoping, and I think if you were to come in there, you would sense that kind of energy when they're, you know how you feel if you've ever lived in a residential area where there's been a house that's not inhabited, what that feels like when people move in. So it's much better to have somebody in there than not. And I think people are happy that it's
Just to
an
clarify,
art.
board members, so, excuse me if I interrupted, Francine. This is not an action item tonight, just for presentation, and then we'll be coming, provided someone adds it to the agenda, we'll be revisiting this at a future meeting. Tom, please go ahead.
I guess I was in several times in the winter months, and we picked up a number of items, and I really like what you're doing there, and it's a great service, and I commend you for what's going on there. I guess one question I would have, and I guess this would be on what we would draft actually within the future agenda. Usually when I've seen these kinds of agreements in the past, usually there is a nominal, it's not zero, it's like $1 or something, some kind of factor in there, and I'm hoping you could afford $1. But usually there has to be some remuneration within it to actually create an agreement. So I don't know if that's the case or not, or if that would be something we'd want to consider in that future agenda item.
The lease would probably have to have some sort of consideration, but it can also be other types of in-kind services. It doesn't have to be monetary compensation.
Amanda?
I wonder if your group would be amenable to helping us collect some data from the things you do, like every time you refer somebody someplace else. I don't know, some sort of tally or some way, same thing if another business has referred somebody to the art center, just so we get an idea of what that looks like. I don't know, is that asking too much?
I think it would be pretty difficult to do, just as I think about what goes on when you're staffing. And, you know, I remember when you came in, Tom, and there weren't a lot of people in, but there were people in there. And that's what we have to pay attention to. And, you know, we're having a conversation with somebody. Here's an example. One of the things that I love to do when it's a nice day and we open the door, if people walk by, I go out and engage with them. One of the things that happened this summer, a couple of times people were they were going to have breakfast at Sonny's, and they couldn't get in right away. So the person said, oh, yeah, well, we come in. We're waiting for our table at Sonny's. And I said, well, you have a couple of minutes. Come on in. How do you document, you know, something like that? Now I've got, you know, these people that are coming in. I need to show them around. And I probably am not going to think about going back and making some kind of tally. That's why I said I think an indicator is the fact that Firefly, you know, invests in us. You know, if there are ways that we could do it, I'm all about collecting data. And the data that we have here is the data that we could easily collect. It's even hard for us every day when we're in there to count numbers of people who are in, and we have 2 people staffing. So I'm glad to do it if you can think of something that might be doable. And as I said, otherwise we might have to use things that are indicators of the value.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I
Sorry.
just I found or at least I had a Alliant Energy bill, and I just looked at it for the water tower pump house last year. Well, this would have been October, November, but it was a real average month when you look at the previous years. Total's about $130, $140 for the for the gas and the electric combined. So, figure it's probably around that, between that and 150. Looks like.
Okay, anybody, whoops, anybody else?
Phil, I got a couple.
Oh, please.
Yeah, as far as the cost, I took a look at that a little bit just before Phil and I met with Francine earlier in February when she put this forward to us. So the property in the pump house has, you know, basically 3 costs: electricity, gas, then property insurance, and then just maintenance of the building. But a lot of that stuff we would already be doing anyways. And actually, I went back and looked just really briefly at costs, you know, pre-2020, like 2019, compared to, you know, last year for electricity and gas. It was pretty much the same. So they're not really having any impact on costs per se. And now they weren't making up, you know, all of the costs in the year with the rent that they were providing, but they were making up a pretty decent amount of it. So that's one thing. Then the other thing I would say is, you know, we have the existing agreement in place, and so it might just be a matter here of if the board is acceptable to it, of just taking out the rent or having it be $1 or having some other language of what other consideration we may be able to incorporate into there, as far as maybe a public service or something like that. And we can prepare that agreement pretty easily and have it on the board for the next meeting, if that's the way the board wants to go.
So do you want action on this item, or, I mean?
I don't think, I mean, if there's
You just want
consent,
consensus?
unanimous consent, unless somebody's dissenting, we can go that way.
Yeah,
If you
okay.
want to vote, that's totally fine too.
Yeah, Carleen?
I do like Amanda's idea of trying to figure out a way to collect some information, and I'd be happy to talk with you about what that could look like. And
Great.
in some sort of an easy way to do that. And I'm sure you have meetings with the artists who are there, and, you know, just kind of roll it out and think about how it might help both the artists and the village as far as the data that would show exactly what you're saying, but would be concrete.
Sure, be glad to hear those ideas.
So,
Thanks.
Jason?
I will say that as long as we're talking about data, the FERC from UW Whitewater does this for organizations and communities. I believe it is pro bono, and they send their students out. I know they did it for the soccer. My son did it as a part of the FERC when he was at UW Whitewater. So.
Okay, so are we in general agreement? This is how we want to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're all set, Francine. It'll be on a future agenda, and we'll actually enact the lease.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for everything the village has done thus far, and we look forward to continued partnership.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, item 4B, public comment. This part of the agenda allows members of the public to provide information to the village board, including items both on and off the agenda. 15 minutes will be provided for this item with a 3-minute maximum per speaker. First, we have registered Kim Schmidt. Would you like to come up? And state your name and address. Speak into the microphone, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Kim Schmidt,
I live in the Village of Oregon at 564 Lexington Drive, which is right next to the Hawthorne Estates Park. I just wanted to bring to your attention that with the new building in Autumn Ridge 3A is now affecting our neighborhood with the sewer interceptor. The information that our neighborhood has been provided showing where the sewer is going to go is misleading. And I just thought you would like to know so that it will head off any problems that we might have with flooding. Currently, the information they provided showed certain elevations. What they didn't show is the original elevations. So the elevations are now higher than our yard and where the line comes through. And they're not complete yet, so I'm kind of trying to head this off before we have flooding issues like you've had with your other developers, such as the ones that were off of Hole 8 on Foxborough with the flooding that we had. It took us several years to get that straightened out, and I'm not willing to do several years again. So I'm hoping that any other approvals that you need to do will be taken into consideration the water that's being given how it's been built up, and the exit plan for it is insufficient. And that's all I just want to make the comment. We are working with Jeff Rao right now.
Okay, good.
Hopefully, we will be able to resolve it. We've worked several times with him, so I'm hoping that it will go faster this time. Okay? But that's all I want to let you know, that in case you hear that there were no problems or any complaints, I'm letting you know it's my lawn, my neighbors, a few down, we all are affected by it. And with us, because we are in the lowest point, we'll receive most of the water.
Okay.
And that's from a property that's not even near us. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Also have Sarah Dewey to speak. Speak in the
name is
microphone, please.
Sarah Dewey. I live at 266 North Main Street, and I am a candidate for the board.
You speak a little closer to the mic, please.
How's that?
Better?
You can move it
You
towards
can
you,
pull it
too.
towards you.
I just want to speak a little bit to the downtown master plan coming up. Again, I'm trying to get ahead of some things. So I'm sure you're all aware that there will be an information shared regarding the downtown master plan at the Plan Commission meeting on Thursday, which is March 7th. And I have read the entire proposal that's in the packet of the group that was chosen. And I have some comments, questions, and concerns, of course. And I hope that all of you, too, find these to be important points that are worthy of your consideration and thought process. So that said, I believe there was 7 submissions. So based on a memo from Martin, he indicated who was interviewing the 4 firms of the 7 that were chosen. And I would like to know the process of how those 4 were chosen. And then I'd like to know who picked the final one that was chosen and how that was done as well. I think that it's important to be clear on who's, when we go to, let me backtrack. When we go to section 8, project goals is where I am. I think it's important to be clear that who's deciding and defining in the first paragraph there that the downtown master plan should assure the desired character is maintained. We have a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions about what a desired character is going to look like. So how are we going to come to that agreement on what that's going to be? So I think that's important, and that's going to require input from many different people. Historically and architecturally significant buildings are preserved. Again, you're going to have different opinions and ideas of which buildings those are and are not. And I think it's important to get as much input from folks as we can. Renovate and restore historic buildings. Again, how are those buildings chosen and who's paying the cost to have that done? The owners of the buildings or taxpayers? I'm curious what strategically acquire property means. How does that work? And what properties would be examples of properties that would want to be acquired? A unified vision for downtown. I think, again, you have to have a lot of input from different people. And how is that going to be achieved? Big thing is transition between downtown and historic neighborhoods. People who live in those neighborhoods are going to have a very different idea of what an acceptable transition is going to be and how that's going to work. So input, input, input.
Okay, about 30 seconds.
30 seconds,
Yeah.
thanks. Then I'm going to skip quite a bit. I think the number one stakeholders in our community are the taxpayers and the residents. They're the people who are going to be using the downtown area, living with it, enjoying it, and paying for it. And stakeholders, by definition in this packet, are village staff, elected officials. It also includes commercial bankers, realtors, developers familiar with the market. Those are all people who are going to ultimately profit from this in the long run when the developments start taking place. And so they have a vested interest because there's financial gain to them. And I think the people who are paying for it are the number one stakeholders, and I don't see public input anywhere in this phase of the schedule that you had put together. So I just want to make sure everybody is clear how important it is for public input on this whole project from the beginning, not after it's all been decided. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, thank you. Item 5, approval of vouchers in the amount of $727,175.17. Looking for a motion to approve. Jason and Amanda. Questions, comments?
I just found one
Please.
typo on 5470, the park's protable toilets rather than portable toilets. I don't know if there's pro-table toilets or, anyway. I was like, what is that? Oh, then I realized it. So that was the only thing.
Okay, I may have that cleared up. Anything else? Anything else?
You're doing important work.
Okay.
I was really looking at the detail.
Roll call, please.
Mankey,
Yes.
Kirchdorfer,
Yes.
Higgins,
Yes.
McDaniel. Yes. Van Campen,
Yes,
Beshin,
Yes?
and Peterson.
Yes.
thank you. Item 6, consent agenda. A staff recommendation, motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Jason and Amanda. Okay, questions, comments on the Couple items on the consent
I
agenda.
actually have a comment.
Oh.
My husband is in the logging business, so I read him this surplus list, and he said he's not interested in any of those steel chainsaws.
Don't tell people that.
No, sorry.
Don't tell people that.
Lynn, please.
Along that same line, though, I was going to say, I really appreciate the detail that Nick put together on this. Not being a public works employee, it's helpful to just see the reasoning behind some of these things and that, there is true, documentation as to why they need to be in surplus. Sorry.
I'll mention that to him. Thank you.
Tim.
On the U.S. Cellular Tower, is there any expected change to cell service in the village as a result of these changes being made to the tower?
Just updated antennas. We don't really get involved in like what specifically they're upgrading to, because they're just literally leasing space from us. But we always, we've had them up there for years, and they've always been a really good service through this area. So I'm assuming it's just improved antennas.
Well, my question comes from, as they upgrade cell phone technology, sometimes they leave earlier versions behind, and people might find that their 10-year-old cell phone no longer works, and they don't like to be surprised by that, I guess.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good question for U.S. Cellular. I don't, because we're not dictating what antennas they're putting up there and if they're obsolete or not.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, report of committees. Item for discussion and possible action. A, ad hoc public transportation committee. 1, to request for proposal for public transit planning services. Do you want to go with this, Amanda? Or?
Sure. So this item, this is the request for proposal that the Transportation Committee approved at our last meeting that Martin so eloquently edited, wrote in way less time than we could have done it ourselves. And it's got a nice little schedule in there. And this is to hire the transportation planning professional who can help us decide what our needs are in the village and how we can best meet those needs with a transportation system of some sort. So, and this is the grant, 80/20 grant. So we estimate that this will cost $60,000 and $48,000 of that would be covered by the grant. So if anybody had any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
No?
Okay. So do I too? You want to do the vote?
I can take it, but I think. No. Tom, you look like you want it. No?
I was going to make a motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Tom, second Tim. Further discussion?
I think this is pretty exciting that we're actually going forward with this. So congratulations to
Just
the Transportation Committee.
Nice work, Amanda. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B, Public Safety 1, ordinance number 24-05, an ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances relating to the issuance of cigarettes, electric vaping devices, and tobacco product retail license. Recommendation and motion to approve as presented. Let's get that on the floor. Amanda and Carleen. Okay, whose is this?
Well, it can be mine or Derek's, whoever. But it's basically just to come into compliance with, I should use my mic.
Yes.
It's just to come into compliance with the Act 73 that was signed into law in December. Does anybody have any questions about it?
Amanda, please.
Yeah, so not such a question, but this came before the Public Safety Committee, and we debated a lot of possibilities. Carlene's eyes are like, oh boy. Yeah, we talked about a lot, but in reality, we don't really have many options because of Act 3 that was recently passed.
73.
Or 73, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
That's okay.
So this is basically just what Candy said. It's just to bring it into compliance, and it's not because we didn't consider other things. It's because we really can't do those other things that we would like to do. So.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, unfinished business items for discussion or possible action. A, review bids received for 2024 South Main Street and Utility Improvements Project, an award of base bid, alternate bid, and supplemental bid contract totaling $1,617,881.70 to S&L Underground. Staff recommendation, motion to approve. Could we get such? Lynn and Amanda, Lauren or Jeff or
Lauren.
just, okay.
I think most of the relevant information is in there. I will repeat some data that I shared at the Public Works Committee last week. This project was budgeted this year for $2.65 million. And it did come in, the engineer's estimate for it was about 2.12 when we fast forwarded to February. And as you can see, including everything, we're sitting at 1.62, so well under budget. Some of that was design changes. A lot of that was timing on this project and when we actually bid it. So I do want to just give a shout out to Town and Country Engineering, who were our design engineers on this, for really pushing this one through on a tight schedule and shepherding it through the bid process. I know that many calls were made to various bidders, answering questions, soliciting bids from them. So I do just want to say they did a fantastic job in getting us these results.
Excellent. Good questions. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I was surprised at the gap between S&L's bid and really all the other ones that were within about 3% of each other. Are we confident they didn't miss anything? I mean, does anybody explain that like 15 to 20% difference from high to low?
So it's a great question, and it's obviously one of the first things that jumped out to us as we were reviewing these. I will say sometimes these things happen. The first thing that you always want to check for is, was anything missed? The second thing is, was anything missed on our end? Did we forget a zero somewhere and it's lurking out there waiting to bite us, essentially? We did review these very carefully, and we are pretty confident that everything is as it should be. There aren't any surprises out there. As far as we can tell, this particular contractor was just very eager to get their project for the year. And so they were quite motivated to, as we say, sharpen their pencils. This is a well-respected contractor. It's one that works a lot in this area. I personally have worked with them when I was at Madison, so I have every confidence they will do a good job for us.
All right, Lynn?
Okay, thanks.
Under budget. I'm so happy and excited about this. But I also want to reiterate to those who are listening and watching, this is one of those things that when we talk about the capital improvement plan, all of these numbers move and switch and flow, and you guys do such a nice job of kind of giving us the top so that we get to be a little bit lower when things come in, hopefully, right now, once things are starting to settle down. And so I'm just super excited that we were able to get this at a number that is lower than what we figured, and that you gave us the number to figure so that we're not like super surprised here. So just good work all around. Under budget. I love under budget.
Okay, Tom?
Have we actually done work with SNL Underground in Oregon? You're familiar with them from prior employment, but have they ever done projects for us within Oregon?
Not in my tenure here, not in the last 8 years or so, 8, 9 years, but, so beyond that, I couldn't tell you. But we do our due diligence, and Town and Country's done work with them as well. And we did talk to SNL about their price and made sure, I mean, they are aware of everything where it comes out and everything, so. Yeah, we had that same question. I was like.
Well, it could be they're trying to build a relationship too, so if they
Correct,
haven't been here for a
correct.
while,
We had something very similar a couple of years ago with Fisher Excavating, and since then, Fisher's done, I think, 4 or 5 projects in the town, or in the village. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jeff and Lauren.
Thank you.
Item 9, new business, items for discussion or possible action, none, apparently. 10, reports of village officers, department heads, and consultants. This is for information only. No action by the village board will be taken. Reports are in the packet. First, A is a village administrator report. Questions or comments from Art? Hearing none. B, police chief report, revisions to the following policies: traffic stop and approach policy, tourniquet policy, sex offender policy, patrol procedures policy, alarm policy, officer-involved critical incidents policy, nasal naloxone policy, missing person investigations policy, emergency detention policy, fiscal management policy, motor vehicle crash reporting and investigation policy, relinquishing custody of newborns policy, and auxiliary personnel policy. You've been busy, Chief.
Yes, and I delivered, didn't I? Sorry to make me read all of those. Yeah, a lot there, a lot more to go. This was what I would consider low-hanging fruit, just minor changes for the most part. And most of it is either updates that have been made to accreditation or just titles or slight operational changes. So be happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions? Amanda?
Nice job.
Yeah.
I got more coming, but I'm trying to do this like a Band-Aid, quick rip it off.
I would just comment that I appreciate the format, the way you send this out. It makes it very easy to review it and kind of jump right to the standard and come back to the narrative. So it helps a lot to review it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Item 11, announcements and miscellaneous business. A, announcements, comments, communications, upcoming meetings and events, and miscellaneous business. Village board members may provide brief statements, but no discussion or action of the body shall occur. Anything?
Oh, yeah, thank you. This is an announcement about candidate forum. It's not really a village board specific thing, but the Oregon Area Progressives is sponsoring a candidate forum for the open seats on the village board. Will be in this room on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And also someone from the League of Women Voters will be here to explain the 2 ballot questions that are on the April ballot and answer questions about those. So it's 1 o'clock on Sunday the 10th in this room. And Judge Sherry Pollack will be the moderator.
Anybody else? Lynn?
I just wanted to reiterate on the calendar, there's a QR code if you're looking at the packet online, that polling places have changed. I will say it today, and I will say it on March 18th, because the village staff is doing a lot of really good work to try and get that message out. But it's important because there are lots of changes that have occurred, and we want to make sure everyone feels confident and comfortable with where they're headed. So there's lots of good information on the website and myvote.wi.gov.
Amanda?
Just another plug, we still have open seats on the Transportation Committee, and we have some work coming up, so if you want to be part of this RFP process, get an application into the village hall. Thanks.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Candy, when does early voting start for the April 2nd election?
Early in-person absentee voting starts on the 19th, and I'm going to have probably not as good a memo as Martin writes, but a memo in next packet.
Okay, thank you.
Lots of information on voting next time.
I'll talk to you about it later.
Anybody else? No? 11B, future agenda items. Jason?
Why don't we throw on there that lease?
Yep, 14 South Lease. Okay. Anybody else?
Was the mowing thing gonna happen? We're not on that committee, but. What thing? The mowing.
That'll come back with the Public Works report at the next meeting.
At the next meeting, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Clarify.
Okay, item 12, closed session business. Items for discussion and possible action on Wisconsin statutes 19.85, sub 1, sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Attendance is limited to the village board, and at its discretion, any necessary staff or other individuals whose presence is necessary for the business at hand. Item A, village administrator, annual performance evaluation. We're looking for a motion. Jason and Carleen. This is a roll call vote.
Kirchdorfer,
Yes.
Mankey,
Yes.
Van Campen.
Yes.
Higgins,
Yes.
Beschen,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And McDaniel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are in closed session.
And we are going to the other room.
Somebody turn the heat up.